worked the closing shift at a small bar just outside of Dallas. It's one of those quiet highway stops where truckers, locals, and the occasional lost traveler drift in for a drink before disappearing back into the night. I've been doing this job for almost 2 years, and nothing really surprises me anymore. Until the night he showed up. It was a Wednesday, sometime around 1 in the morning. The bar was empty, except for one old regular half asleep at the counter. I was wiping down glasses when the door opened, and this man walked in. He wasn't like our usual crowd. He looked too neat, too deliberate. Black turtleneck, dark trench coat, clean shoes, like he belonged somewhere important, not a place that smells like whiskey and old wood. He walked straight to the bar, smiled politely, and ordered a top-shelf whiskey without asking the price. When I set the drink in front of him, he asked me if I liked working there. Just small talk at first. But there was something in his tone, calm, measured, like he was studying the way I answered. He told me I had good energy for the night shift. I laughed awkwardly and thanked him. He smiled again, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then, almost casually, he asked, "Do you ever think about doing something bigger?" The question threw me off. I said I was happy where I was. He didn't argue, just nodded slowly as if my answer disappointed him somehow. After a long silence, he asked me what time I got off. His voice was friendly, but the question felt wrong. I told him vaguely, "Pretty soon." He smiled, left a $100 bill on the counter, and walked out without another word. I thought that was the end of it. But a week later, he came back. Only this time, he wasn't alone. A woman was with him. She looked maybe mid-30s, dressed expensively, but off, like she was copying someone younger. She smiled too quickly, touched my arm as she complimented me, and introduced herself as someone who ran private events. She said they were always looking for fun, outgoing people to work their exclusive parties. Then she leaned in close and whispered that I could make $10,000 in one weekend. My stomach dropped. I tried to play it cool, saying it sounded too good to be true. She insisted it was real. Her voice was too smooth, too rehearsed. Then she said, "You should come outside for a second. Someone can explain it better." That's when the alarms went off in my head. I shook my head and said, "I'm good, thanks." Right then, a group of noisy regulars walked in, and her smile changed instantly. She looked at the man, and they both left without another word. I told my boss about it, and we agreed to keep an eye out. A few nights later, after closing, I saw a dark car parked across the street. Engine off, headlights out. I told myself I was being paranoid, but when I started my car and pulled onto the road, the same car pulled out too. It followed me, not close enough to be obvious, but always there no matter what turn I took. Finally, I turned into the parking lot of a police station. The second I did, the car sped off into the night. Nothing happened for a week. Then, late one night, the woman came back, alone. She sat at the bar, smiling like we were old friends. I texted my boss under the counter, trying to act normal. She said she just wanted one old-fashioned before closing. I agreed, just to stall her. When I turned to grab the bottle, I heard the front door creak. When I looked back, she was gone. Through the front windows, I saw a black van idling outside. My stomach dropped. I ran to lock the doors just as the back door started rattling. Someone was trying to force it open. I grabbed the heaviest thing I could, a metal shaker, and dialed 911. Then headlights filled the parking lot. My boss. The noise at the back stopped immediately. The van peeled out of the lot, tires screeching. My boss caught the license plate before it disappeared down the road. When the police checked the footage, it was worse than I thought. 2 masked men had been crouched outside the front door while the woman distracted me inside. Another man was at the back, pounding on the door to make me run out front. The plate turned out to be fake. No records, no trace. Now, I never close alone. But every time I wipe down the counter late at night and see headlights flash by on the highway, I can't help but wondering how close I came that night, and what would have happened if I'd stepped outside when she asked. I work night security at a medical research campus in Colorado Springs. It's mostly empty after 10 p.m. Just me, a few janitors, and rows of silent labs filled with blinking machines. My job is simple: make hourly rounds, log the rooms, watch the cameras, and stay awake. It's easy money until you realize how quiet a building can get at 3 in the morning. That's when the silence starts to feel alive. It was a Tuesday when I first noticed something wrong with the monitors. Camera 14, the one covering the East Wing hallway, kept flickering. At first, I thought it was a wiring issue, but then I realized it wasn't random flickering. Every time the camera glitched, the hallway lights on the screen would dim slightly, like someone was walking underneath them, only there was no one there. I checked the live feed against the motion sensors. Zero movement. I switched the channel back to the front lobby, and that's when I noticed something else: my own reflection in the security glass behind me. For a split second, I could have sworn there was another reflection standing just behind mine. I turned around. Empty chair, empty room. I told myself I was tired, too much coffee, not enough sleep. But then, around 2:17 a.m., the monitor for camera 14 went completely black. I tapped the console to reset it. When the picture came back, there was someone in the frame. A man, standing perfectly still in the middle of the hallway, facing the camera. He wasn't wearing a badge or a lab coat, just dark clothes and something like a hood. The worst part was that he wasn't moving. No breathing, no blinking, just standing there. I radioed the janitor team. They were 2 floors down. No one was supposed to be in that wing tonight. It was locked for renovations. I zoomed in on the feed. The man's head tilted slowly until his face filled the frame. Then the monitor froze. A second later, every screen went black. I stood up so fast my chair hit the wall. Before I could grab my flashlight, the hallway lights outside the control room flickered, the same pattern I'd seen on the feed. I ran to the door and locked it. That's when I heard it, the click of a door handle echoing down the corridor. Then footsteps, slow, deliberate, getting closer. I shut off my phone light and crouched behind the console. The footsteps stopped right outside the control room. There's a small square window in the door, chest height, and in that window, I saw the same hooded figure facing the glass. No movement, no sound, just the faint hiss of static coming from somewhere behind him. Then the lights went out again, pitch black. The power came back less than a minute later. The hallway was empty, the door untouched. When I finally got the courage to open it, the hallway lights buzzed back to life. I ran the length of the hallway, nothing. When I came back to the control room and checked the playback, something was wrong. Camera 14 hadn't glitched out. It had kept recording. On that recording, you can see me sitting at the console, looking right into the screens. Then, frame by frame, the hooded man steps out of the hallway feed and into the control room. You can see him behind me, standing there in real time. And right before the footage ends, he leans forward toward the camera and whispers, "You saw me this time." The feed cuts out there. I still work there, but camera 14, we disconnected it. Even unplugged, the red light still blinks every night at 2:17 a.m. I work nights at a fulfillment warehouse on the edge of Dallas. It's a place the size of 5 football fields, lit by rows of buzzing lights that never sleep. By midnight, it's just me, a few forklifts parked in their bays, and the steady click of conveyor belts running orders for people who will never know we exist. It's easy money. Boring, sure. Until it wasn't. My shift started like any other. Scan, box, tape, repeat. Around 1:43 in the morning, the floor supervisor radioed me to do a count check in Section D, the far end of the warehouse near the old loading docks. No one likes Section D. The lights flicker there, and the air always smells like wet metal. I walked the long aisle, scanning boxes, calling out the numbers into my mic. Then I froze. On my scanner screen, the inventory started changing by itself. Every number I read was ticking backward. 132, 131, 130. I thought the handheld was glitching, but then I noticed the conveyor belt slowing too, like the whole building was rewinding. Then the intercom crackled above me. A woman's voice said, "Stop counting." I assumed it was the supervisor, but her tone was wrong, flat and cold. I pressed my radio. "Who is this?" Static answered. Then the same voice whispered, "You'll mess it up again." I turned to head back, and that's when I saw movement between the aisles. A figure, crouched low, darting from one row to the next, too fast to be human. I shouted, thinking maybe it was another worker playing a prank. No answer. When I reached the end of the aisle, the figure was gone. But all the boxes on the bottom shelf had been turned backward, barcodes facing the wall. My scanner beeped twice on its own, even though I wasn't touching it. The display flashed one word, recount. I ran back to the control room. The night manager, Ron, was gone, but the security monitors were still on. Every camera showed static, except one. Section D. On the feed, I could see myself walking that same aisle. Only I wasn't holding the scanner. I was dragging something behind me, a large dark bag that left a wet trail on the floor. I watched in horror as I looked straight into the camera. The face on the screen was mine, but the eyes were burnt out, like burnt film. Then, on the timestamp, the seconds started counting backward. The building lights flickered. The belt behind me kicked on by itself, a single box moving toward the loading dock. I followed it. The box stopped at the end of the line. The shipping label was blank, no address, just a barcode that read 0000000. When I scanned it, the handheld chirped and printed a small slip. It said, "Delivery complete." Behind me, the intercom crackled again. The voice said, "Good, your turn now." Then the lights shut off. When the morning crew arrived, they found the control room empty. Just my radio on the desk, still transmitting faint static. Ron swears he saw me clock out on camera at 3 a.m., waving goodbye as I walked toward the loading docks. But the timestamp on that footage starts at 3:01 and counts backward. And every night since, at exactly 1:43 a.m., Section D's conveyor belt turns on by itself and delivers one unmarked box to the loading bay. Inside each box is a handheld scanner, still powered on, showing the same word, recount.